Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 action thriller A Score to Settle, a film that is directed by Sean Koo and it stars Nicolas Cage, Benjamin Bratt and Noah Lee Gross. Now this is a film that essentially is one of those films everyone will look at and think, well, it's Nicolas Cage, it's one of those direct-to-DVD films that no one is really interested in, and it's kind of, you know, a shadow of his former self. And occasionally he pops up with a film like Mandy last year where you see the Nicolas Cage of old. Well, this film focuses on Nicolas Cage's character Frank, who has been he was like an ex-mob enforcer, and you do see at the beginning of the film a couple of clips that show him as a young man. Something happens and he decides to take the fall as like a show of loyalty to the family, and he goes to jail for 22 years, which was kind of unexpected. However, he was told while he was going to be inside that he would be coming out as a rich man and his family would be taken care of. And so we see 22 years later he's being released from prison, and he's being released from prison early because he has been diagnosed with like a life-threatening disease. It's a form of insomnia that essentially is lethal, and it's going to eventually kill him. So he leaves prison, he meets up with his son, who is now a grown man, and he sets about putting the wrongs in his life, and first and foremost he's trying to build a relationship back with his son, but he also has another motive, and that is to take down those that wronged him while he went inside. Now that is essentially the story that we get here. Now this film for the most part feels like a very generic run-of-the-mill Nicolas Cage film with a very competent Nicolas Cage performance for the most part. He is and I remember thinking at some points during this film that you just have to admire Nicolas Cage's effort even in a small budget film as this. When you compare him to people like Bruce Willis, who is, for me, clearly lost his desire for the business, I don't feel as though that is the same with Nicolas Cage. He puts a lot of effort into this performance, I feel, and there's a couple of key scenes in this film where you see Nicolas Cage giving a very good acting display. The problem with this film is it's so generic for so long that you kind of start checking out, and you don't feel fully invested in his reasonings behind him wanting to take out those that wronged him while he was in prison. It doesn't make sense, because you're kind of thinking, well, yeah, they promised you money, you've got that now. As soon as he gets out, he gets his money. He goes and collects it from somewhere it was stashed. He's meeting up with his son, and he's doing all those things he wanted to do with his son. And he meets up with Benjamin Bratt, who plays an ex-mob enforcer, and they were very, very close years ago. And you're kind of thinking, well, I don't understand why you want to take these people out. You're the one that decided to take the fall for this when this person is murdered early on in the film, and he decides to show his loyalty to the family and take the fall. And I struggle to understand his reasoning behind why he was doing what he was doing. And then about 3/4 of the way through this film, something takes place and his motivations become very clear, and I have to say I do applaud the film for the direction that it took. Imagine Dead Man's Shoes, the scenario there, and you might have more of an idea of what is happening in this film. And I must admit that when the twist, and you can call it a twist, takes place, everything made complete sense to me, his actions, and I was, from that point on, about 3/4 in, fully invested, really invested, and I was fully on board. And I kind of wish the twist had come a little bit earlier, because up to that point I was starting to check out, because there wasn't an awful lot of understanding on my part as to why he was doing what he was doing. They do cram in like a romantic storyline for him, a Simone, like a prostitute that he has a date with, that he starts falling for. It doesn't add an awful lot to the film. It feels a lot like filler, but he does something at the end of the film for this prostitute Simone that felt right, and you can understand that storyline taking place just for him to do at the end what he does. And the ending for me felt a little bit, I don't know what the right word is really. I'm not sure that it was the ending that I wanted, but it was probably the ending that the film needed, I guess. It wasn't ever really going to be a happy ending. This was a little bit of a surprise. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to blow your mind, but it's a well-made film with a very good performance by Nicolas Cage for the most part, and with a great twist about 3/4 of the way in that I didn't see coming. You may well see coming. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I think it was slightly above average, this, for a Nicolas Cage direct-to-DVD type film. So I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, please click the like button. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and of course I'll see you next time on Screen Stars.